I don't always drink gin, but when I do, it's on the Drunk Athlete Show.
Woo! Welcome to the Drunk Athlete Show, where I'm sitting around with a few of my very good friends having some cocktails. Cheers, you guys.
Wakanda
Yes. Cheers. Wakanda forever. That's awesome. So we're just gonna have a few questions. Is that good? Yeah?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Yes, Robert is the only person here that is not an endurance athlete.
Not even close.
Football.
It's all right.
Can you tell?
Former.
No, come
Football.
So what is the next race or thing or goal that you guys have coming up? Like your A goal?
Chicago Marathon.
Yay.
That's coming up soon, yeah?
Yeah. I had a potential stress fracture, but I got cleared to run yesterday.
Very nice.
Okay.
Are we running it?
October
Congrats.
6th?
Yeah.
7, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beginning of October.
Very cool.
Yeah. She's my little ultra runner.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Dave, not ultra so much. Well, yeah, marathon.
Yeah, so I'm doing, I have the World Mountain Running Championship in September. Myself and 3 other gentlemen, and then a 4-person ladies team running for the United States. And we go to Andorra to compete against 31 other countries. And we will run 12 kilometers up I think the Pyrenees. So yeah, that's what's on the docket. And then I have California International, CIM.
It's a big one.
So you basically suck and you're not doing much,
No,
right?
I literally
Okay.
haven't done anything. I ate about 7 slices of pizza. So,
We're good.
You'll burn them all off
yeah, I'm
tomorrow.
so hungry.
Yeah. Pam, what are you doing? Pamela.
I have 70.3, so half Ironman World Championship Labor Day weekend. So that's a week and a half, 2
In
weeks.
South Africa?
Yeah, I decided to go.
Very cool.
We talked about this on the podcast. So
Nice.
I'm going. Yeah.
Nice. Are you going to South Africa, Gary?
No, I'm going to run 2 miles on Monday.
Winning.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Perfect.
I believe in you.
Oh, you can do it.
Yeah.
Do you need to train
I
between now and then?
had in April like a 1,000-pound piece of steel fall on my toe,
Oh,
my
man.
foot. It shattered my big toe in 9 places and broke my other 2 toes. And I'm doing my first run on Monday. It's 2 miles. It's big time.
Literally big
First
time.
one back.
I was
First one since the end of April.
Yeah.
So almost done.
My man.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Man, that's
So,
rough.
that's it. It's big time. It's huge.
It's huge.
Way to go.
All right, guys. So now I want to know a little bit more about you guys. So, what is one thing that is on your bucket list to do? It doesn't have to be a race. It doesn't have to be a game. It doesn't have to be anything athletic. But what's one bucket list thing that you want to do? Pamela, what's your bucket list?
I really want to go to Norway.
Okay.
So my mom's side of the family is Norwegian, and I've wanted to go there for a long time. And I'd also love to do the extreme try there, Norseman.
Oh, jeez.
So, my friend told me you could just go to Norway, but
But where's the fun in it?
kind of not.
This is the worst group of bucket list.
If I'm
I
gonna
want to
go to
run 100
Norway,
miles and then
I'm probably gonna jump in 45-degree water and then bike up some mountains and then run a little bit, kind of like Alaska Man, which we chatted about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alaska Man, Northman. Okay.
Yeah.
Buffy, what's your bucket list?
I'm the person that kind of wants to do everything I hear about, except swimming in really cold water, because that's out for me.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful. I want to run a 100-mile race. So I'm going to do that.
Whew. not want to do that.
That's,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
I'm not drunk enough for this.
And I would like to do another big destination type race. I did my one Ironman in Australia, so something where it's like go somewhere for something big.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been to a lot of places running. I want to continue to go, but I'll always run. So I can't say I want to go here and run there.
Right.
You know, I'd love to go to Thailand. Thailand would be really fun. I would really like to get bigger.
So gaining weight.
Gaining weight. I mean, I would.
You're on the
I
Robert
really,
Reed
I
bucket
honestly-
list
I
program?
honestly think about like gaining muscle mass, getting bigger. That's not a bucket list thing or anything like that. But I don't know. Thailand's really big on the bucket list. Better at Spanish, learning sign language. I really want to do.
That's cool.
Yeah, I really want to learn sign language.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, but probably nothing like running related. You know, just because I can do that anywhere and I can race anywhere
You like,
and do that.
yeah.
So
Been there,
with
done that.
wanting to get bigger, do you want to stop running?
That
Because
I
isn't
want to
it
be.
good to be like smaller? for
Piggybacking
running?
off of that is I want to be okay with not running.
Right.
Right now, I'm not okay with
I dig it.
running.
Yeah.
So that's
fair.
gonna take a long time to be
That's
okay
fair.
with not running. But
Yeah.
you know, it's a love, so it's one of those things like you have to just not love it anymore. When that time comes, I think I'll be able to figure out what my bucket list stuff is.
Yeah.
Right now, I could, I want to go to Thailand for sure, just travel and eat the food. I love Thai food. But actually focusing on strength. I mean, I was talking to somebody else, like, if I drop something on myself, like I'm working under vehicles a lot, whatever. If I drop something on myself, I'm literally not going to get it up off of me. I can't pick this up. Like, I'm probably just going to lay here.
Oh no, Robert's out of this.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is be okay with not running, but learning a couple of languages. Like, I know Spanish really well, but fluent, which you have to do often, you have to speak more of a sign language for sure.
If you couldn't train in Texas for your sport or whatever you like to do, where would you train?
If I could, I'd split between two because I've done it here in Austin. I'd go to Thailand.
To train?
And I would be, let's say money wasn't an issue.
Okay, well,
Right?
no, it's not. This is dream.
Money's not an issue. I would go to Thailand and I would learn Muay Thai, which is fucking brutal. That is hands down. I don't give a shit if you can run 100 miles, swim 100 miles. I lie to you not. Do 10 rounds of Muay Thai. You will die. It's the hardest training there is on the planet, hands down. So I would go there for like 6 months and just learn Muay Thai, hands down. Then I would move to Brazil and learn Jiu-Jitsu
Oh,
from
wow.
like the Gracies, where
Yeah.
the shit originated, right? And I would just go hands down, hardcore, learn from the best where fighting originated. So if I could do that, I would.
That's awesome.
I would die. But I
But you being good fit, that's for sure.
Gary, where are you going to train?
New Zealand,
I thought you
Easy.
were going to say that.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
amazing. I mean, some of the best triathletes in the world reside there. It's incredible. It's New Zealand.
It's New
That's
Zealand.
it.
It's
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Nothing else I can say.
Pamela, where are you going to ride?
I think I'd go to Spain
Yeah?
and ride mountains. Yep.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
A little bit of mountain, beach, pop over to Mallorca.
San Sebastian.
Yeah. Drink some wine. Yeah. Spain.
Sounds good.
Portugal's pretty close too. Some good hiking.
Okay. That's-
So I've got a quick little
Yeah.
snippet. So Kim and I hiked Crested Butte to Aspen a
Oh,
couple
cool.
weeks ago. Crested Butte's like my favorite domestic place. I go there a lot, and so it's like 14 miles. You go over a 13,000 foot peak, whatever. But to drive from Crested Butte to Aspen, it's 4.5 hours. So you've got to figure out your transportation. So we found a guy in Crested Butte, like this. He was maybe 28, and he had this little business. It was like $350, and they pick your car up in Crested Butte and drive it to Aspen, and it's sitting there waiting on you when you finish the hike.
Yeah.
And it's great. But of course we were, we met up with the guy, and we were like, so how are you getting back?
Yeah,
Because you're
exactly.
taking our car, dropping
Yeah.
it off. How are you? He's like, oh, we just run.
Oh shit!
What?
We go, what? He goes, oh yeah. He's like, because the college in Gunnison, evidently is a pretty renowned like cross country school, and so he just pays like, he's like, we got some of the best runners in Colorado here. He's like, so I just pay them $100 or something. They'll drive your car, and the hike that we are walking.
They run.
They
He's
run
like,
back.
He's like, yeah. He's like, we just run back.
What's the hike called? What's the trail?
And it's the Crested Butte to Aspen Trail. I mean, it's really famous. It was incredible. But he said, he's like, yeah, we do in the summertime, like sometimes like 2 of these a day. It was like $350. I started doing the math in my head, and paying some college kid like $100 to run back. It's like, it's a good little business.
It's a great business.
Yeah. Anyway.
Seriously.
And if we don't make it, it's your fault.
So we just run back.
Stupidity.
They sign a waiver.
Buffy, where are you gonna train?
Well, I think I will. I'll jump on the bandwagon here, but I'll go to Australia and train because I have family there, and then I can go hop over to New Zealand and train with Gary.
Visit Gary.
There you go.
Sounds awesome. You guys can meet up, have a couple beers. You have your sport. You can no longer do your sport ever again.
That's easy.
He's like, I'm retired.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. What do you do? What sport do you do to replace it?
I'll go first. Tennis.
Tennis.
Yep.
Why tennis?
I think tennis is just a badass sport. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So are you taking any lessons or anything, or is it just something that maybe someday in the future you're going to try?
You said hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
I would take up tennis.
Okay. Anybody else going to play tennis with Gary?
Maybe
Well,
we're at
I'd
80.
like to try it again because I played as a kid, but I think racquetball would be fun.
Racquetball's
Isn't that just
Racquetball.
another version of tennis?
But it's a
It's
little
fast.
higher intensity, I think.
Whatever. Does racquetball still exist?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, gotcha.
no.
Of course.
Clearly, you don't know anything.
No.
I mean, how
You
can
ever been to Wall
how can you
Street?
say that when you pick tennis?
No, because you have to be 60 years old or above to take
Parent,
playing
Robert
racquetball.
says they play
Tennis is
racquetball in
like
prison.
70 and above.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, pot, kettle, yeah. But I also think, so beach volleyball,
Yeah.
probably,
Right, there you
I have
go.
to
There
say.
you
That's
go.
fair.
I
There you
played
go.
volleyball in high school and I missed that. I used to have bruised hips from, being a back row defensive player, diving all the time.
Plus you get sand in all your bits.
Oh, that sounds great.
Bits. That's in your bits.
Exactly why I want to do it.
So my next question, you guys have already kind of started to answer or were in debate about, which is awesome. Which
Yeah, I forgot about that.
which IOC sport do you consider not a sport, and why? And which sport should be an IOC sport and isn't?
Fighting.
Fighting?
Yeah.
Fighting isn't a sport or is a sport?
Well, you've got wrestling, but
And boxing.
MMA.
But boxing or MMA?
Boxing is, wrestling is, but you marry the two and you've got MMA. And that's just pure, right? I mean, this goes all the way back to the days of marathon and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Last man or last woman standing is the victor. That is the ultimate measure of who is superior. And that's just the bottom line.
So MMA is not an Olympic sport, but should be.
It absolutely should be.
So which Olympic sport should not be an Olympic sport? Because I think there's categories, and I'll kind of push you guys.
There's way
There's,
too
Some
many.
there's
are winners.
sport, game, and skill. Like we're talking about, is poker a sport? No,
Right.
poker's a game.
Golf.
Right, golf. I
Golf
say
is a
for
sport.
me, golf is a skill.
Golf is a sport.
I say it's a
Golf is
skill,
a
not a
skill.
sport.
Golf
It's
is a
a
sport
skill.
because at the end of the day, golf is what's hidden about golf is
Oh gosh.
holes 1 through 8
Getting really intense
is
here.
easy.
Okay.
Once you get through 8 through the rest of it, you have to do the exact same movement over and over and over again. And if you are off by 1/4 of an inch, that ball goes way the fuck over there or way the fuck over there. And that will decide whether you hit par, whether you hit eagle, whether you bogey the shit out of it. So I mean, the ability to do the same movement
It's
over
kind of, but
and
like Erin said, skill.
That's a
right?
skill.
skill,
yeah.
which is also a sport.
Or game.
Because
Like-
you can say
like
the same thing
bowling.
about football. which is a thing that people don't
But
realize
people
about
move
football.
in football.
They
Like
do
in
move in
golf.
football, but literally a quarter of an inch movement in football will make you or break you.
There's a lot of aerobic ability with
Football, but
versus.
you don't have to have.
But also in
But what
there's
about
aerobic and
what
aerobic.
about like heart rate? How does is heart rate determine the sport? Or
Right.
No, but
if you
that's-
can smoke a cigar during a sport, is it a sport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
No.
on now.
But you can make the same argument about like sumo wrestling. Those guys, they have a diet of rice and beer. By any of our standards,
awesome.
they're
Is that why you want to do fighting?
they're morbidly obese. But I put you against a sumo wrestler. I put you against a sumo wrestler. You're gonna get your ass whooped.
Yeah, but
There's a different level of conditioning.
It'll take time. I'll just wear them.
The ability.
Run circles.
But we have issues in that the ability to run 26 miles is the standard of
We're good. Yeah.
conditioning,
Yeah.
right? I couldn't do what you do. You couldn't do what I did. It's a different type of conditioning. So to be able to say swimming 100 miles versus running 40.
I've never swum 100
But
miles.
let's say we have this thing in our head that being able to do shit for a long time, that's the standard.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
That's
we
not
shouldn't.
true.
Maybe we
No.
shouldn't
That's
judge
so
what's
true.
not a sport.
That's so
Because
true.
to be honest with you, at the height of my athletic ability, literally being able to run from here to there, that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
It's like
it.
a
And then
triathlon.
I got back, I got a 40-second break, and I had to do it again. Then I run from here to there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
So we think being able to run 800 meters, 1600 meters, a quarter, that's the standard. That's not the standard. There's so many different levels of conditioning
Totally.
that
Yeah.
we say this isn't a sport because they're not running for an hour straight.
Totally.
Right? As a resident fat guy, I call bullshit on all of that.
Yeah. So
I see a lot of
so
strength behind it.
my question is, does the media and our society actually make golf a sport? Like, what if curling was as popular
It was
as
at one
golf
time.
as golf was?
Yeah.
Every person in the country has played golf at least once. I mean,
Including
and now you have
If you include putt-putt.
there's putt-putt, there's top but I think that experiential element of the game enhances our opinion of what is a sport.
What other
You know,
than,
and,
other
yeah,
than
yeah,
golf,
and
other
but
than
I will say the current PGA big time golfer is much more fit than probably 15, 20 years ago.
That's definitely
Right? I
the-
mean, all
they're
those
the
guys
1%,
now, all
yeah.
those guys now are fit.
Yeah.
But it's
Back
not
in the
just from
day,
golfing.
like with Palmer and Nicklaus, as great as they were, and John Daly and those guys, like objectively, they were not fit at all.
But that argument can be made across sport, period. Because when my dad played football, there was the muscle bound theory.
Right.
And that if you were too muscular, you couldn't play football, right? It would make you tight and everything else, right? Now we know working out actually helps your sport. That's why golfers look like Tiger Woods now with a flat stomach versus,
Totally.
you know,
Right.
the John Dalys who are now the anomalies. And Scrabble doesn't take any athletic ability, right? It takes memory,
Right.
which is great. Like, are mathematicians athletes? I'd argue
athletes.
probably not.
Athletes, mathletics.
Athletes.
Yeah.
So, can I ask a question to the group?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that? Am I like fucking up your game?
You are fucking everything up. What's the question?
So we talked about attributes of athletes. Everybody's different. What sport encompasses the most attributes out of all athletes?
Decathlon.
Ooh,
Period.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Period.
I don't agree.
10 sports.
Yeah.
But that's a good one.
If they swam and did something longer than a 1500.
Yeah.
But decathlon, I mean, was the original test of like a you know.
It's a good point.
Total ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Buff?
No, I'm kind of like in my own little world. Like, I don't know what all these sports are. Although
Yeah.
I will say, did anybody see the picture from the 80s that apparently like ski dancing used to be an
Oh.
Olympic sport?
Oh,
I don't know if
Ski
that was actually
dancing?
true, but
What?
it's like 80s music and people on
Don't
their skis and they're like,
Laugh at tennis or piano. You're not allowed to laugh at my piano
I
lesson.
mean, I have to like data check this and see what actually
All right,
something.
Yeah.
Gary and
Fact
Kim,
check.
God, I
ski
hope
dance.
that's not real.
So
I wouldn't ask the question if I didn't know the right answer.
Wait, I think
And
Robert's answer to every question tonight is going to be fighting.
No, because I went straight off the football field.
MMA.
I went
Right.
straight off to the football field to the mat. And I was in great shape coming off of my Canadian football season. I ran a 4.4 in the fucking 40. I was lean and mean. I was getting a sack every 5th play. And then I tried 2 minutes on the mat. And I thought I was going to fucking die. Two minutes on a mat with someone your size and they're not letting you move, you'd be surprised. It's fucking terrible.
Anybody my size, we're going to be really good at just endurance.
But no, I mean, it's
There
every,
all of you are
there's
wrong.
There's no.
Gary's like, I've got the right answer.
Hit it.
It's
What is the
fucking
answer?
hockey.
Hockey.
I'll give you that.
It's
Why is
I'll
hockey?
give you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think
I'll
about
give you
it.
that.
Think about all the attributes of a hockey player. You have to be
You
tough.
have to fight.
You have to have.
Well, no.
You have to have.
It's linebackers
You have
on
to, you
stage.
have to have aerobic capacity.
Skill.
You have to have anaerobic capacity.
I
you have
won't
to have.
disagree with that.
You have to have hand-eye coordination. I mean,
But there's
every-
no skill in the legs, which is what a decathlete
No.
has.
What do you mean
there's no
Jumping-
skill on the left and
Are you
up?
joking?
You know what?
There's a lot of skill.
Give it up, G-Man. I'll give you.
There's strength.
If you were to look at every single
I thought you
sport
said you
and
didn't
say
know the
the
answer.
attributes. No, I did know the. I want to ask a question. if I
But
didn't know the
we're talking about Olympic sports that are measured.
You're
You
gonna make myself
can't
look
measure
good.
a hockey
Yeah.
player's leg strength. Period.
Bullshit, you can't.
Is there a measurement in long jump, triple jump for
No,
a decathlete?
these guys, you know what it is? You know what it
You
is?
can't measure it.
The hell you can't. Because
Please tell me how you measure it.
Because these are linebackers on skates. You're in a squatted position for the entire game. And I take hold on.
Specific measurement.
Go
A specific
find
measurement.
a linebacker.
Is there a standard?
Sure.
There's no
The hell
number.
is it?
Is there a number for
Yes,
a hockey
it is.
player's legs? Okay.
What's that?
A number for a hockey
I
player's
dare
legs.
anyone to go sit on that wall in a 90-degree squat for 120 seconds.
We're all going to go do it now.
Now do that. No, now do that. Now do that for 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
Right?
Jen.
And I say all the
We all need
time,
to
you will
do
never find a linebacker with small legs and a flat ass because you spend an entire game at a 90-degree squat
Yeah.
the entire time. Hockey players, that's why I agree with you.
Yeah.
They spend the entire game in a squatted position. These
Yeah.
are all 6'3", 6'4" guys, 240-pound
But they're not in
guys.
a squatted position the whole time.
What's
And
that?
it's
The
not
hell they're
that-
not.
They're not.
I don't watch hockey a whole hell of a lot, but
Then
these
how
men,
are
their
they-
knees are bent the whole time.
You-
Go find one
I'm
skinny
just saying.
hockey player.
I'm not saying that they're not, but there's no.
But
specific
Define measurement. Define measurement.
The hurdles, long jump, triple jump,
Yep.
javelin. These,
And
these
that's
are
the
all-
measurement?
Shot put.
Because it's a measure. There's a measure.
Go sit your monkey ass on the wall right now. Put him on the wall for the rest of the interview.
gosh.
Put him on the wall for the rest of the
So
interview.
do you watch hockey?
Very little.
Well then why? What
Because I'm
hockey's
and I
not
spent
right.
3 hours like this the entire fucking game.
In a
The
hockey game?
players are,
Where I was
and
telling
they
you
have
started.
pads on. Put his ass on the wall. For the rest of the interview. Don't fall asleep. This man made me
And
more
we're back
into.
from break.
Yeah.
Step your game up.
Out of all the technology that has happened within your sports, how has it changed your sport?
I'll probably be pretty short. So I do some triathlon, but mostly I run. But I don't follow all the metrics and however, I get super upset if my Garmin's not sure. Like it's got to be, I need to have the number. I need to know exactly how far I went and exactly what the time was, and I'm very particular about that. Like the just go run for fun. That's not okay with me.
So
But
it's
I'm also really type A, so.
so as far as technology, that being able to track yourself has changed you as an athlete because now you're more dedicated to a time or a distance.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's changed me because it's always been there since I started. I started running later in life. But if I had run younger, I think I'd still, and hadn't had those numbers, I think I'd still want them now.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I need to know my numbers. However, I'm not the person that sits down at the computer and I'm like, what's my peaky looking chart threshold number you think? So now on Training Peaks, I'm like, oh, I got a little award for something cool, and then I just move on. I don't really know what it is, you know.
So Dave, you're kind of in that same industry.
Yeah.
With running, I mean, technology is basically what the GPS threshold time, but now you have power available to you as a runner.
I don't really buy into that. It's just distance and time and effort. There's too many variables with heat, humidity, how you felt, what you ate the night before. I think there's too many variables to be able to measure that from a heart rate. There was a coach I had in high school, and he would always be like, why? Well, we never wore heart rate, but when we asked him about it, he was like, well, are you dead? Like, no, well, you got a heart rate. You're fine. Don't worry about it. My college coach had a software program that you would upload all of this information to, and while it might have worked for some, it didn't work for me, and I just thought it was a little tedious, and I think going off the Garmin, I think especially when you have that distance, you have to, make that distance. But when I was in school, you just assumed you ran, in high school, before Garmin, you assumed you ran 7-minute miles, and you're like, oh, 15 minutes, 7 miles, but you might have run slower, you might have run faster, so you don't really know. But now you kind of have some sort of measurement.
Yeah.
It's really hard though with Garmin and Strava. I love Strava. I do that. I'm like really big on it. It's very competitive, and it can get you into trouble, and it can make it faster. But I don't know. I don't buy so far into it. So
In the technology.
I just keep it very specific and very disciplined with it. Distance, effort, time. You measure what you did maybe a year ago in the same effort, and you just kind of go on with that.
Yeah.
So
Pamela, what do you think? You have more technology.
So I would say the power meter for sure has, not just personally, but I think across the board with cycling, racing and training with power, I'd say has changed the game. And along with that, apps like Strava or Zwift that people are using for training.
it's fun.
I mean, Zwift makes it fun where people are sort of connected socially and doing it from their own trainer and using their power numbers and making improvements and gains and going about it strategically rather than just hopping on the bike and going for a ride.
Yeah.
Or trying to use heart rate, which is a little tougher on the bike. So I'd say the power meter, and then things that have sort of stemmed from that, the apps. Strava's a blast, and I love it. Super fun. Yeah.
Gary, you're in or have been in the technology business with the sport.
I tell you, I don't have the time to focus on the data. I mean, Coach does the Training Peaks thing, and got the Garmin, Strava, and as soon as you hit the stop on your Garmin, it's like it's done. I don't even look at it. Zwift and like a kicker, like the smart,
awesome, yeah.
from a cycling
Trainers.
standpoint, the smart trainer in Zwift, total game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before we know it, at some point in time, there's going to be a USA Cycling sanctioned race on Zwift. And, doing what I do for a living, I mean, that's actually a threat to the event business, if you
Yeah.
will. Because I tell you what, if I had an hour and a half, and I could either go ride outside or I could get on Zwift and do a group ride, I would choose Zwift.
Yeah.
I'd get a better workout. I'd be in the comfort of my home. I wouldn't have to worry about some Yahoo on their cell phone running over me.
Right.
And the technology is amazing.
And they've got Zwift races already.
Yeah. I mean, Pam could be in
Yeah.
Europe, and I could be in Austin. Like, hey, you want to ride? You want to ride the World's course in Richmond? Sure. It's like I can see her avatar, she can see mine, and it's like,
And now we're
It's
running.
amazing.
We're running
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Zwift
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I'm not a big
Yeah.
treadmill.
You can run on Zwift.
Yeah, with
You should
treadmills.
have
You have to have a
treadmill.
foot pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
That's
a
a
friend
lot.
who's got a Zwift national jersey. So it's not, like you said, a
Totally.
USA
It's
sanction
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
is on the
amazing.
horizon, but they've already got the Zwift nationals and stuff.
Yeah, and nothing will ever beat a group ride
Yeah,
outside
human
or
interaction.
human interaction. I mean, nothing will ever beat that. But like during the week with just people who have lives and other jobs, and you have 2 hours, that technology is incredible.
Yeah.
And you just get an amazing workout.
So, okay, I've got another question for y'all. And it's going to be different for everybody. I can't wait to hear what Robert has to say.
Oh, Jesus.
How has doping changed? How has doping like affected your sport? Whether you know of the protocols of doping, whether you raced against somebody who you know was a cheater, or you've heard about it. How has it affected you in one way or another? Or maybe it hasn't, because everybody's in different sports. So
I don't agree with it, obviously. I
Right.
don't want it in my sport, but it's gonna be there. It's
gonna
gonna
be there.
happen, you know. And I'm not gonna throw a tantrum, you know, when somebody gets popped. They're gonna get popped. They're gonna do it either way they want, you know. People are gonna find drugs. They're gonna find guns. Whatever. They're gonna do it. People in their own nature are gonna do it. And if that's their choice, then they do it, you know. And if they break the rules, then they break the rules, and they don't get found out. Well, that's a bummer. I wish they would.
So
but-
in mountain running, are you guys tested?
So
Is
actually-
there a protocol?
I'm on the mountain running. I'm on the MUT committee for USATF, and we just implemented doping for a lot of USATF sanctioned mountain running events. And the first race that was tested was the race that I got third at, and I was tested, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, like I actually voted for this, and here I am.
Here I am.
About to do it.
He ended up top.
Awesome.
It'd be terrible if something happened. The guy that voted us in, he just
Did you
got
feel
fucked.
like you arrived when you had to pee?
This was
kinda?
a question when we had
Yeah.
we might have discussed this, but as a professional athlete, or excuse me, as an amateur, you don't feel like you arrived as a professional until you're actually in the pool of testing, you know,
Right.
where they think you're fast enough to be tested. So I'm sitting there, I'm getting tested, I'm like,
Awesome.
this is cool, but it's also nerve-wracking. I'm like walking down the mountain, and they're like, I go, oh, let me get a cup of water, I'm thirsty. They're like, oh, don't drink that. I'm like, why? They're like, you don't know what's in there. And I'm like, well, what have I done the last 24 hours?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what if I just,
Wait a minute.
let me call the managers of this place I ate at. So anyway, that was crazy. You know, the bottles that I had to use, and then all of the procedures, and I listed everything. You know, it's expensive. You see why you see why races won't do it, because it is expensive. You have to have 3 chaperones for each person that comes down the mountain. You know, and follow you around and do all of this stuff. You know, I'm glad it's there. You know, I'm glad it's there. You know, I've got friends that doped and got busted and this, that, and the other, and they made their bed. They can sleep in it. They're adults. You know?
Do you start thinking about, when you're like, you're going into testing, do you start thinking about everything you ate and drank over the last 6 weeks or whatever? Like, what?
This is a
What if?
really good example. So I take like Nasacort, right? It's a corticosteroid.
Right.
You know, the active ingredient.
So you can breathe.
So I can breathe. In Texas, it's cedar fever.
It's cedar fever.
The active ingredient in that is banned in any form other than taking it through like a like the thing.
And
So-
there's probably a standard of how much you can have in your
There
system.
is. So
Okay.
there's a global DRO site that you can go on to and literally look up any chemical. In
I
it.
love that site.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's amazing.
So I was
You can
10
type in,
minutes
like,
after the
name
test,
brands.
I was like, Nasacort. I'm like, oh, it's good. It's fine. You
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
so you worry about that kind of stuff, you know, and guys that are hanging out in Mexico to train in Mexico, they eat the meat. They're popped, you know. They probably are doing other stuff, but it's the same thing.
Because the meat is injected with something?
Yeah, well, what's the Contador, right?
Yeah.
The rider,
Yeah,
he got
yeah.
popped for Spanish meat because there is a lot of testosterone in the cattle that are being fed all these things. So
if
yeah,
you don't know
Balls.
what you're
Cow
taking,
You don't know what
Cow
you're
balls.
eating.
Needle on cow balls.
Yeah.
if you're
I-
taking vitamins
yeah.
and you don't know
Yourself
like
don't have
what
balls.
Yeah.
like the specifics of that particular producing facility.
There was a girl that was sanctioned or tested positive in a race. It might have been a while ago, but she placed 200th out of the race. It was a random test. She was 10th female, but she was 208th, and she got like a 4-year ban because she was doping.
Holy shit.
But she was 200th. You know, it's like it's a lot of money wasted for a 10th place finish.
Yeah,
rate,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
You had a bad day.
She ran like it's a respectable like 302 or 258. But I'm just saying, like there's good testing and then there's bad testing. You
Right.
know, and everybody knows who's doping, and anytime I see athletes come onto the air and they're like, oh, I had no idea this person was doping. Oh, and it's like, no, you did. They're doing it. It's a fact of life.
Yeah.
People are gonna do it, and they make their bed, they sleep in it, they get popped. That's awesome for the sport, and USATF will eventually probably never catch up to dopers. It's like
Right.
drugs are faster than the test.
Right.
They're always
Right.
gonna be faster.
True.
Yeah.
Pam, you're in the cycling world. That dirty, dirty cycling world of doping.
I mean, so it's interesting. I feel like this topic hits close to home because, I mean, I've been told that a former teammate left my team because I was doping.
What?
Wow.
So I've never said that before, and we're talking pretty openly now,
Yeah.
but there's no truth to that. But have I been woken up at 6 a.m. to people at my front door to pee in a cup? Yes. Did I a little bit feel like, man, I've arrived at that moment? Yeah.
You're like, fuck yeah, I get to pee in a cup.
I was confused, right?
Yeah.
I was completely disoriented and like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, why is my doorbell ringing? And I was scared.
I like
Yeah.
your reaction to this though, that you're not like, I can't believe you're here at 6 in the morning. I like you're like, yes.
Well, so it was like
Testing
this
me.
multifaceted, like, A, what's going on, and I'm scared, and I don't want to
Yeah.
get on stairs, and I need to get clothes on, and like, B, what? Wow.
Why are you
And
here?
okay, and I'm gonna tell you anything and everything I've ever taken, and I'm gonna pee, and it's all gonna be good, and but it's like seeing these two people there, and so this was a little over a year ago, and it was just a few days after a state time trial race, and interestingly, I had just 2 days before posted a photo with a nebulizer, a breathing machine, right, because of my asthma, and I'd had some trouble before the time trial, and then it kind of got better, and then after, and I'm really open about personal stuff to me, including medical and my asthma. So I posted a picture on a Tuesday night with my breathing machine, Thursday morning, 6 a.m. doorbell.
Wow.
So, I got to then like look up my name on the list, the short list of cycling like tested athletes, and I'm like, this is so silly, right?
That's crazy.
And so with albuterol, I mean, I think
Yeah.
I'd probably have had to do that breathing machine all day long, or
To-
I don't
yeah.
even know. Like I did it once in a 24-hour span, or even like a week-long span, and
Yeah.
that's not going to trigger anything, but it is a big issue, and
Yeah.
it's one that's important. I mean, when you think about people actually using substances to better and improve their performance, it's a big deal. But I think that it also is interesting how within small communities it can get blown out of proportion, and people can sort of, my feeling on it was like I got called in by somebody,
Yeah.
by maybe a friendly competitor
Right.
or something,
Competitor
Right.
that was
Yeah.
hoping.
and it's kind of silly. Like I think doping itself is wrong. I think people getting the medication they need for their medical issues important, and there are all kinds of resources available that a lot of us don't even know about in terms of like the DRO, the web page and the app you can go to search for your medication and find out very quickly whether it's allowed, whether it's not, what's banned, what's not, based on not just the ingredients but like the brand name.
How much?
That's awesome. Yeah,
you
how
can
much?
take
Yeah.
it.
Because some like albuterol, like a little bit, and the prescribed doses are fine, but then obviously, when you get up to a certain level, it's not okay.
Right.
A Froome situation, and I don't even want to get into that because I don't know all the details, right? But you get to certain levels and it's not okay. So, and then you've got others that are just black and white, but I think doping's a big issue. I think in cycling, it's obviously been one that's tarnished certain people, and yet at the same time, the sport has seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
So,
And Gary, on your side of it though, I mean, you're an athlete, so you potentially could have raced against people who in age group are going to get away with it because they're not going to get tested. But as an event director for some of these big races you're doing, how is it on the other side? And are you dealing with that?
No. Look, I'm an age group triathlete. Like,
Don't sell yourself short.
no. Like I'm not. Like,
Come on.
yeah.
You're
I'm
a good age group.
I'm
Like you're a super fast.
no.
Yes.
No, like I'm like, I would consider myself more. I would have more of an opinion on the business side of it than the athlete side of it. And the fact of the matter is that I would not be sitting here today with you guys if Lance wouldn't have taken the steps that he took to win the Tour de France.
Right.
Right.
Arguably,
You wouldn't have either.
that's true.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, Erin and I were both part of the original Live Strong Challenge.
Yeah.
That's what catapulted my company to where it's at now.
Is that what this is?
And
is this the yellow Livestrong?
yeah, I mean, and you know what? You can think what you want to think about Lance and that whole deal, but it's unfair to take that out on Live Strong.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you know what? You live by the sword, you die by the sword. The wind blows harder at the top. Whatever analogy you want to put to it. But I am thankful to the Lord that Lance doped and won 7 tours. And you know, and you know what? He was still the best rider because everybody else was doing it.
Everybody else was doing it,
And
honestly.
he was the best rider out there. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
The problem wasn't that he
And-
did it; it was really his denying it.
Well, and
His
you know,
attitude
and it's a good like Harvard case study on PR,
Yeah.
Right.
more so than the doping ramifications.
everybody was doing it.
Because I mean, they stripping of titles, they've never named another winner because there's nobody else to name.
Right.
You go down to like 18th place. And I mean, I am, that guy and that foundation saved more lives than they ever heard. If I ever hear a cyclist talk in a negative fashion towards Lance, it really, really irritates me because
they're on a bike because of him.
Because that sport, catapulted the driveway series became
A thing.
known a thing
Yeah.
because Lance would go out and race.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it became a huge thing.
Trek Bicycles was a no-name brand
Absolutely.
Right.
before. I mean, he single-handedly. So, dope all you want. I'm happy.
I actually agree with you.
What is this?
Wakanda
It's
forever.
like a little
bubbly.
prosecco.
Wakanda.
Champs.
Thank you so much. Woo!
Give it up.